Strategium, while casualty icons multiplied across Vantor. An admirably concise philosophy, Cordus said. It has the intellectual depth of an infected tooth. The World Eater continued. Come, Fleshsmith, bring every beast you have bred. I will reduce your future to meat beneath my boots. Bile muted the transmission. Direct his landing coordinates towards the western regulator. Georg studied the projected surface of Vantor. That route crosses 3 Imperial artillery zones. Yes, the World Eaters will be annihilated. Not before they reach the pylon. Bile moved the target marker into position. Tell their champion the regulator is a gate through which the strongest may seize dominion over the thing beneath the moon. You expect him to believe that? No. I expect him to believe everyone else desires it. The World Eaters struck Vantor in waves of red armor and screaming engines. Drop pods hammered into the industrial plains. Hatches blew open before the pods settled. Berserkers charged through their own retro's fire. Chain axes roaring, bolt pistols spitting into anything that moved. They butchered mutants, Skitarii, and Imperial infantry without distinction. One World Eater reached a trench already filled with the dead. He jumped into it laughing. His chain axe bit through a guardsman's helmet, split the skull, and continued down through the shoulder. The teeth clogged with brain and hair. He tore the weapon free, hurled the corpse into its comrades, and fired his pistol into the packed bodies until ruptured organs painted the trench walls. Artillery fell around him. Men became vapor. Ceramite shattered. A shell struck a knot of berserkers and threw limbs across the plain. Those still standing charged through the falling debris, roaring praise to the blood god as fragments of their brothers struck their armor. They did not seek cover. They did not wait for armor. They followed the scream in their skulls towards the western Noctilith regulator. The servants of Nurgle arrived beneath a darkness that moved against the solar wind. The plague fleet translated slowly, its vessels swollen with diseased growths. Rusted bells hung beneath their prows. Corpse gas vented from cracked armor in clouds, vast enough to obscure escorts. Where the fleet passed, Vox static became coughing, and machine spirits reported sensations of fever. Their first attack was not directed at Vantor. It struck the Carrion anvil. Bile was operating on a captured Skitarius when alarms spread through the clone vault network. The patient had no lower body. His spinal column was suspended within a magnetic frame, while Bile tested the limits of Noospheric command after amputation. Every Medici rune turned green, then black. Cordus looked towards the vault feeds. Primary reserves are failing. Inside the storage chambers, Fabius clones began to convulse, bodies twisted within disconnected. Vats. Skin ruptured along old surgical scars. Black tumors erupted beneath ribs, throat, and spine. Secondary hearts swelled until they burst. Lungs filled with clotting fluid. One clone struck the inside of its tank hard enough to split its knuckles, then vomited its own liquefied liver through a feeding tube. The blight had awakened in all of them. Not naturally. This strain possessed purpose. It moved through flesh as though guided by memory, seeking the familiar weaknesses in Bile's genetic architecture. Bodies that had never lived began dying of a disease older than empires. Plague fleet contamination, Cordus said. They have found the clone signal. Of course they have. The chirurgeon stabbed injectors into Bile's spine. Counteragents flooded his body before symptoms could manifest. Seal the reserve vaults, Bile ordered. Containment is failing. Then burn them. Cordus hesitated. Those chambers contain 7 centuries of viable bodies, and the memory archives lie beyond them. The first reserve vault ignited. Promethium flooded the tanks. Hundreds of sleeping clones awakened inside fire. Some died before understanding where they were. Others opened their eyes, saw Bile through the picked feeds, and began clawing at the glass. Their mouths moved in unison. Father. Flames stripped skin from bone. Nutrient gel boiled around them. the vaults became rows of transparent furnaces, each containing another Fabius bile, burning beneath his own gaze. The fire halted the infection 3 chambers from the primary mnemonic crypts. Cordus watched the bodies blacken. You feel them. Bile adjusted the flow of counteragents. I received neurological echoes. That was not my question. It was the only answer worth giving. A face appeared across the infected Vox network. Bloated, smiling and wet with corruption, it belonged to a Death Guard lord whose armor had become a colony of mouths. The grandfather remembers your sickness, he said. He has kept it warm for you. Bile severed the channel. Direct them towards the northern regulator. Geor looked at him. With the same promise? No. Tell them the pylon contains the original source of my blight. The 1,000 Suns arrived without apparent translation. One moment there was empty void. The next, a fleet of blue and gold vessels occupied the system's inner dark, their hulls surrounded by burning hieroglyphs. Space folded around them in geometric layers. Wreckage drifted backwards. Dead men returned briefly to the moment before their ships exploded, screamed a second time, and died again. A sorcerer's projection appeared inside Bile's sanctum without triggering a single ward. He wore a horned helm and carried a staff crowned by an eye of blue fire. His body flickered between armor, dust, and something winged beneath both. Fabius Bile, he said, you stand before transformation and mistake it for disease. Bile did not look up from the Scitarius. Your legion has made that mistake for 10,000 years. The sorcerer ignored the insult. The Changer welcomes all who exceed the prison of origin. I can teach you controlled apotheosis. I can show you how to preserve the self while ascending beyond flesh. You cannot preserve dust inside armor without sorcery. Your contempt is a shield. No, it is an assessment. The sorcerer extended one hand. Equations of blue flame unfolded through the air, describing empiric pressure, mnemonic inheritance, and the anchoring of identity inside ritual geometry. Bile studied them. Several were elegant. That irritated him. He altered one sequence with a gesture. You have neglected recursive instability within inherited bioresonance. The sorcerer's burning eye narrowed. Explain. Bile transmitted a corrected chain of genetic equations. The calculations were false, not obviously false. Each error had been buried beneath valid principles, leading towards a conclusion sufficiently plausible to tempt a mind convinced of its own superiority. The sorcerer absorbed them. Behind his projection, demons gathered around a summoning circle aboard the 1,000 Suns flagship. Their bodies resembled birds assembled from flame, parchment, and teeth. The sorcerer spoke the altered formula. The first demon inverted. Its limbs entered its own torso. Its beaked head divided into fingers. Wings became intestines that beat against the air. The next creature erupted into a cluster of screaming eyes. A third changed into a mouth so vast it swallowed the ritual circle, the sorcerers surrounding it, and half the chamber floor. The projection fractured. You deceived me. Bile looked up at last. You were eager to be deceived. He marked the eastern regulator. Tell him the pylon stabilizes transformational energy. Pride will do the rest. The Emperor's children arrived to music audible through vacuum. Their warships entered in perfect formation, lacquered hulls reflecting the fires of the system. Sonic arrays pulsed along their flanks. Each note disturbed shields, machine systems, and the inner ear of every mortal within range. Servitors collapsed beside their stations, blood streaming from nostrils. Deck crews clawed at their own faces as harmonics vibrated teeth loose from gums. Slaaneshi demons moved between the vessels, visible where no air existed. They danced across hulls and left trails of violet flame behind them. The Emperor's children warlord requested audience. Bile allowed his projection into the sanctum. The warrior wore armor of such elaborate construction that it approached immobility. Gold chains hung from his breastplate. Faces had been stretched across his pauldrons and lacquered to preserve expressions of ecstasy. His helm bore a plume of living nerve fibers that writhed in response to sound. "Brother," the warlord said, "no. You deny blood, legion, and destiny with equal futility. You have confused shared ancestry with kinship." The warlord smiled behind a mask carved from ivory. Fulgrim remembers his lost physician. The prince remembers what is owed. I will carry you before them in chains, if submission is beyond you. Bile regarded him for several seconds. You resemble an overdressed courier. The warlord's smile vanished. Every sonic weapon aboard his fleet fired at once. The carrion anvil's shields shuddered. Glass burst across 3 decks. Thousands of vat creatures died as pressure waves ruptured their organs inside their tanks. Bile did not flinch. "Southern Regulator," he told Geor. "Inform him that whoever claims it gains command over every clone in my network. And if he doubts us, he will not. Vanity is the most reliable form of stupidity." 4 claimants descended upon Vantor. Each believed it had discerned Bile's true purpose. Each believed the others were intruders. Each moved towards one of the Noctilith regulators buried around the exposed Blackstone fragment. The World Eaters came from the west, beneath an artillery storm. They charged through blast craters filled with boiling blood, chain axes rising and falling. Imperial defenders died by the 100. Mutants died beside them. Berserkers climbed over tanks, ripped open hatches, and filled crew compartments with severed limbs. The Death Guard advanced from the north. They came slowly beneath clouds of flies and chemical rain. Artillery shells burst among them and disappeared into swollen bodies. Ruptured organs spilled maggots instead of blood. Plague Marines walked through promethium fire, while armor sloughed from them in burning sheets. Where they passed, the dead swelled and burst. The 1,000 suns reshaped the east. Manufacturing planes folded upward into walls. Trenches became vertical shafts. Imperial gun lines found themselves firing into their own flanks as distance twisted. Rubricae marched through doorways painted into empty air, bolters discharging in perfect volleys, while sorcerers rewrote gravity around enemy armor. From the south came the Emperor's children. Their assault possessed discipline absent from the others. Sonic bombardments shattered bastions before infantry advanced. Noise Marines fired in measured harmonies, each weapon tuned to exploit fractures created by the last. Bodies burst without visible wounds, eyes liquefied, spines vibrated apart inside intact uniforms. Slaaneshi demons followed through the broken lines, harvesting sensation from the dying. At the center of the 4 assaults stood Bile's engine. Noctilith regulators awakened one by one. Each claimant believed it was taking control. The World Eaters flooded the western pylon with rage and slaughter. The Death Guard saturated the northern regulator with rot, endurance, and despair. The 1,000 suns fed, transformation, ambition, and paradox into the east. The Emperor's children poured obsession, excess, and hunger through the south. Their warp signatures struck the Blackstone from opposing directions. The pressure balanced. Inside the ritual chamber beneath Vantor, Mordrath Vale began to change the design. Word-bearer acolytes moved among the engraved circles, cutting new channels into the floor. Blood entered lines Bile had not authorized. Chains of scripture were wrapped around clone relay conduits. The apostle replaced isolation sigils with symbols of inheritance, continuity, and incarnation. Cordus stood beside him. He had removed the skin from both forearms. The flesh beneath glistened red beneath surgical light. Strips of his skin hung from the ritual frame, each marked with the 8-fingered hand. "You understand what he intended," Mordrath said. "A cage, a denial. He would draw the entity into matter and open it. He fears what follows." Cordus's exposed hands trembled. "He does not fear. All mortals fear dissolution. He is not mortal. Mordrath smiled. Then help me prove it. Cordus attached the final clone line conduit. The ritual changed. Instead of drawing the Pater Mutatis towards a central vessel, the engine reached through every body carrying Fabius Bile's genetic pattern. Living clones, dead clones, failed clones preserved as tissue, memory archives, neural remnants, blood samples stored across hidden laboratories. A single network formed. Bile felt it from the upper sanctum. He stopped in the middle of a sentence. The chirurgeon's limbs spread around him. Georg saw the change in his face. What is happening? Treachery. Bile entered the ritual chamber with the rod of torment in one hand. Word-bearers blocked his path. The chirurgeon killed the first before he raised his bolter. A hooked limb entered beneath the warrior's chin and emerged through the crown of his helm. Another arm caught a second word-bearer across the throat and tore his head away with half the spinal column attached. Bile walked through the spraying blood. Mordrath waited at the center of the circle. Cordus stood behind him, skinless arms dripping onto the ritual lines. You altered the engine, Bile said. I completed it, Mordrath replied. You have attached the phenomenon to my clone architecture, to your immortal body. There is no immortality here, only replication. Your distinction has ceased to matter. Bile raised the rod. Mordrath opened his arms. He did not draw his Crozius. He did not defend himself. The rod of torment struck his chest. Every nerve in the dark apostle ignited. His body arched. Bones cracked beneath ceramite. Blood burst from his eyes and mouth. His hearts lost rhythm, recovered and failed again as the device drove agony through every implanted organ. Mordrath laughed. The sound came broken through clenched teeth. Bile increased the charge. The apostle collapsed to his knees, still laughing. Every cruelty, he gasped, makes you more like the god they worship. Bile drove the rod against his throat. Mordrath's jaw locked hard enough to splinter teeth. You dissect the faithful. You sacrifice your sons. You burn your own bodies. You turn worlds into laboratories. His laughter became a wet choke. You are preaching with every cut. The clone network awakened. Across the carrion anvil, every living Fabius body opened its eyes. Across hidden worlds, reserve bodies rose inside sealed chambers. Across laboratories lost for centuries, dead tissue moved within forgotten jars. Their mouths opened together. The voice that emerged was deeper than sound. It passed through bone, memory, and blood. It shook the Noctilith regulators. It silenced demons across Vantor for a single impossible heartbeat. Fabius Bile heard himself speaking from every clone he had ever made. You are not the god. The ritual chamber darkened. Something vast pressed against reality from the other side. You are the first cell from which the god is growing. The crown of becoming awakened beneath Vantor, while the forge moon tore itself apart above it. Its foundations had been laid before the invasion, before the first mutant uprising, before billions of Imperial soldiers entered Gethsemar, believing they had come to extinguish a rebellion. Beneath, manufactorums, titan crypts, and consecrated reactor vaults, Fabius Bile's agents had carved chambers into the moon's blackened mantle. They had cut through Mechanicus catacombs, whose machine spirits still remembered the footsteps of dead Archmagi. They had poisoned maintenance clans, replaced servitor overseers, and redirected excavation rights by fractions too small for Vantor's priesthood to notice. Now the hidden chambers stood revealed. Noctilith pillars surrounded the central abyss, each column darker than the void and cold enough to mist the air. Their surfaces consumed the red glow of emergency lumens. Alternating currents moved through them, one pylon drawing upon the immaterium, while the next rejected it with annihilating force. The opposing polarities made reality tremble. Between the pillars hung clone relays constructed from stolen wraithbone. The psycho-reactive material had been cut into branching lattices that resembled nerves stripped from a giant's spine. It flexed without mechanical assistance. It whispered beneath the threshold of hearing, mourning the dead Eldari from whom it had been harvested. Cables grown from vat muscle linked each lattice to thousands of preservation chambers buried throughout the complex. Within those chambers floated bodies bearing the face of Fabius Bile. Some were complete. Some had never grown beyond torsos and skulls. Others consisted of nervous systems stretched through nutrient gel like pale roots. Every viable fragment carried mnemonic residue, genetic memory, and the potential to become another instance of the primogenitor. Gene vats crowded the lower terraces. Their glass walls contained organs cultivated from Alpha Primus's stolen progenoids. Hearts with 3 ventricles contracted around bundles of unfamiliar nerves. Osmodular glands built cages of black bone inside suspension fluid. Tissue descended from rival gene lines grew together without immediate rejection, forced into temporary harmony by methods Carl had concealed even from the Imperium he served. At the center waited Apex Null. The warrior stood restrained within an upright surgical frame. His naked body had continued adapting since the first implantation. He was broader now, his chest armored beneath the skin by overlapping plates of living cartilage. Veins moved across his limbs when no blood passed through them. Additional organs shifted beneath his ribcage, rearranging themselves in anticipation of a procedure not yet begun. The crown rose around him. It was not a crown intended for a head. It was a machine vast enough to encircle a god. Bile entered the chamber, while Mordrath's altered ritual continued beneath the chants of the word-bearers. The rod of torment remained in his hand. Blood from the Dark Apostle's mouth stained its head, yet Mordrath still knelt at the center of the ritual geometry, laughing through shattered teeth. "You have corrupted my design," Bile said. Mordrath lifted his head. "I have delivered it from timidity. You replaced isolation architecture with devotional linkage. I replaced your cage with a throne." The Dark Apostle's body continued to convulse from the rod's discharge. Nerves fired without order. His left hand clawed at the floor hard enough to split ceramite fingertips, yet his voice retained the measured cadence of a preacher addressing a conquered world. "You built the instrument of your own elevation, Fabius. You merely lacked the honesty to name it." Bile looked beyond him towards the crown. The process he had intended was elegant. Alpha Primus's genetic material would provide a stable transhuman vessel capable of containing contradictory inheritances. The clone network would attract the Pater Mutatis by presenting it with thousands of bodies carrying the identity around which it had formed. Once the entity concentrated within Apex Null, the alternating noctilith fields would sever it from the wider warp. A thing born from belief would become trapped inside one body. One body could be restrained. One body could be opened. One body could be measured while it screamed. Bile had not constructed a throne. He had constructed an operating slab. "Restore the original circuits," he ordered. Mordrath smiled through blood. "You no longer command the ritual." The forge moon convulsed. Dust fell from the chamber roof. A distant explosion rolled through the rock, followed by the grinding collapse of machinery kilometers above. Imperial forces had entered the underworld. Inquisitor Lord Helion Voss descended through Vantor's ruptured strata behind a wall of Skitari. The path before him had once been a freight artery wide enough to accommodate Ordinatus engines. Now sections of ceiling had collapsed into mountains of twisted metal. Toxic coolant filled the lower half of the passage. Machinery hung from exposed supports, shedding sparks into the luminous green fluid. Skitari Vanguard advanced through it without hesitation. Radium carbines fired in precise volleys. Mutants fell across the flooded corridor, bodies opening beneath irradiated impacts. Flesh sloughed from bone before the victims struck the surface. Those behind them climbed over dissolving corpses and continued forward. Combat servitors dragged heavy weapons through the poison. Cataphren tracks churned severed limbs beneath them. Breacher claws tore barricades apart. One servitor lost its organic head to a bolt round and continued firing its heavy arc rifle under remote command, lightning leaping between mutant bodies